Just kidding. No, there's sound. There's a video this morning that, for whatever reason, when I first uploaded, some people didn't get sound, and if you reloaded it, it was there. I don't know. Worked fine for me right out of the gate. So we had 10 games tonight. Not a lot of tension in a lot of these games, to be honest. Like, it just felt like everything was kind of, I don't know, one-sided for the most part. And we'll start off. I want to start by saying that for people wondering about Johnny Boychuk, I want to get this out of the way. Apparently, the team's saying he's okay. He took a skate blade to the face during the Islanders Montreal game, but again, can't wear face protection in the NHL because, yeah, they had to specify that he didn't get the skate in the eye. So he took a deep cut, but it didn't affect his vision. So this one didn't get him in the eye. Honestly, we are playing with fire right now, and I really hope we don't see somebody end up blinded in one eye because of a skate blade, and I worry that that's where we're headed. All right, on that happy note, let's start off talking about that Montreal Islanders game. Evenly played first half of the first period. Weiss had a shot that almost fooled Greiss and didn't, but it kind of sort of did, and it went wide. But then Gallagher would score from Sherratt and Danault at 13 minutes and 31 seconds. So it's 1-0 Montreal. Tatar got hurt, and he wasn't on the Habs bench. And so this was not a night that Montreal is going to be all that happy about from that perspective. But Petrie scores from Gallagher and Danault at 15 minutes and 43 seconds. So 2 minutes, and there you go. And Anders Lee went looking for a fight, and Christian Folin said, okie dokie, and they went at it. Actually, it was a hit that was thrown that Lee wasn't happy about, but at any rate, that it was 2-0, and then Charles Hudon with a nice goal at 18 minutes and 34 seconds makes it 3-0 Montreal after 1. So, second period, Varlamov is in net for the Islanders. They announced Tatar isn't coming back. The Islanders get a power play. During said power play, it's Byron scoring from Armia at 12:35 shorthanded. So, Islanders get a power play, and they allowed a shorthanded goal. The Islanders get another power play late. Third period, the Islanders had a goal, then they didn't, got taken off on review. But they would get a goal. It's Nelson scoring from Bailey at 6 minutes and 14 seconds. The problem they had was, at that stage, they just weren't getting enough shots. I have talked about this with the Islanders before, and this has been their problem for a large portion of the season. They don't shoot enough. They don't generate enough opportunities. Power play for the Islanders, and then it was a minute and 48 of 5-on-3 after Jordan Wheel scored from Lehkonen at 15 minutes and 28 seconds. So the Islanders were down at that stage 5-1. They're trying to get back onto it. During the 5-on-3 power play, they would score. Pulock scores from Nelson and Eberle at 16:21, so that makes it 5-2. And they pulled the goalie immediately on the faceoff because you had to. But what happens is a shorthanded goal. Armia scores from Byron into the empty net at 17 minutes and 10 seconds. So they both get 2 shorthanded points tonight. And Montreal wins a laugher, 6-2. They're not really in the race, but they're not letting themselves completely fall out of it either. Carey Price, 20 saves on 22 shots in the victory. Greiss saved 9 out of 12 before Varlamov relieved him. Varlamov, 12 saves on 14 shots. Your 3 stars, Gallagher, Armia, and Danault. As Montreal, pretty complete victory. Shots were 12-7 Montreal in the first, 7-5 in the second in favor of the Islanders, 10-8 in favor of Montreal in the third. Final shots, 27-22 in favor of Montreal. Power plays, Montreal didn't have any, and the Islanders went 1-for-4. So hopefully Boychuk's not out for long. Odds are tomorrow morning in a news video, we'll be discussing how long he's going to be out and what the Islanders may have to do. But yeah, that's one of those scary things. And I don't understand why they don't have better facial protection in the NHL. But again, knock on wood that we don't have anything. Well, I mean, we're already having bad stuff happen. It's just it hasn't been really bad to this point yet. All right. St. Louis, they've now won 8 in a row. I officially feel bad for the Rangers. So their last 3 games have been 2 of them against the Red Hot Flyers. And tonight they got the Blues, who are just absolutely on fire. Kyrou was a healthy scratch. I thought that was noteworthy. Why? Because Kyrou would be top 9 for most teams in the NHL. The fact that he's a scratch for the Blues tells you just how deep these guys are. that when Kyrie's in the lineup, he looks fantastic, and they can just make him a healthy scratch because they have that much depth. The shots were 3-0 Blues at the 4-minute mark, and the Rangers didn't have a shot until 7 minutes and 56 seconds. A little bit after that, they get their first shot of the game, and it was from beyond center. So it technically would have been icing, but it hit the net, so it counted as a shot. So, yeah, that was the first Rangers shot. Binnington then denied Smith not long after that. The Rangers get a power play, and they score on it. Zibanejad from Strome and Buchnevich at 12 minutes and 26 seconds. So Mika Zibanejad continues his amazing run lately. Then there's a last-minute power play for the Rangers. It doesn't score, but the Rangers come out of the first up 1-0 and playing pretty well at home. Second period, the Blues get a power play early, and it's Parayko scoring the power play goal at 2 minutes and 35 seconds. During the second period, the Rangers would get another power play, but that's their third, that's their final power play, and it doesn't score. So the Blues have more shots in the second. The momentum, it felt like, was kind of shifting. We go to the third period tied. Binnington made some really big saves early, and he was rewarded for it by Braden Shen scoring from Schwartz and Parayko at 9 minutes and 56 seconds. This is 5 games in a row that Shen's had a goal. I believe they said his longest in his career is 7. I think they said that. I know Jamie Benn had a streak tonight that he kept going as well. So I'm pretty sure they said Shen's record was 7 in his career. The Rangers got a power play with 1 minute and 24 seconds left. So they're down by 1. What do? Well, you pull the goalie and you go for it. They would end up with some pressure, 6-on-5 after the power, or 6-on-4. But they were unable to get a goal. And then, well, it's Schwartz into the empty net from O'Reilly and Shen at 19 minutes and 54 seconds. Your final score is 3-1 for St. Louis. They win their 8th in a row. And Binnington saves 25 out of 26 in the victory. Georgiev saves 19 out of 21 in the loss. Your 3 stars are Schwartz, Binnington, and Parayko. So for the Rangers, things are kind of going cold. And they have to turn this around quickly because they're not in a playoff spot. And now they've lost some games in hand they had on the other teams. Shots were 7 apiece in the first, 9-7 in the second in favor of the Blues. They were actually 12-6 Rangers in the third. They just couldn't solve Binnington. Final shots 26-22 for the Rangers. Power plays. St. Louis only had the 1 and they scored on it. The Rangers were 1 for 3. So for the Rangers, another frustrating night. A very, very frustrating night for the Rangers. They've got to dust themselves off and get ready for the next one. Pittsburgh. So the Penguins come into tonight with 6 losses in a row. And poor Ottawa. Because Pittsburgh clearly wanting to send a message to the rest of the NHL. And they used Ottawa to do this. And again, poor Ottawa. Starts early. Marino scores from Malkin and Zucker at 48 seconds. Oh, by the way, Marino and Dumoulin were back in the lineup, both of them, for Pittsburgh tonight. And I think that factored into it as well. So yeah, welcome back, Marino. And then Sherry got a goal at 1:39. They changed the scoring on this. Initially, there were 2 assists given on this, but they took those off. It was deflected by Riley in front of the net. So Riley put it into his own net for Ottawa. Senators get a power play. The Penguins then got a power play as well. After that expired, Haralick makes it 2-1. He scores from Riley and White at 16:24. The Penguins get a late power play in that first period, and they score on it. It's Rust from Malkin and Crosby at 19 minutes and 15 seconds. Those 3 guys together, pretty good chemistry on a power play. Second period, Anderson stopped Hornqvist in close as the Senators goaltender didn't want to give up and kept making that effort. The Penguins got a 4-minute power play. It was not successful. Senators then get a power play, also not successful. Their power play sucked tonight because I can say that because it's Ottawa. Crosby would then score from Zucker and Sherry at 17:21. And what was really heartbreaking from an Ottawa standpoint was that was the first shot the Penguins had in over 11 minutes. So they had done a very good job in that second period of shutting down Pittsburgh, but they came into the period down 3-1, and they exit the period down 4-1. Third period, early. So again, first minute, Zucker scores from Sherry and Crosby at 36 seconds. So Connor Sherry starting to get comfortable scoring again for Pittsburgh as he did his first tour of duty there. Tkachuk would score 33 seconds later from Zaitsev and White. So that's 2 assists for White tonight. 1 minute and 9 seconds for that one. The Senators get a power play. They don't score on it, but they do make the game kind of interesting. Connor Brown scores from Schwab at 11:27, so that makes it 5-3. And, Pittsburgh, they've lost 6 in a row, and they've lost games against teams that are pretty bad according to the power rankings, not just mine, but all over, right? So you have to think, well, could they fall apart? No. 2 minutes and 2 seconds later, it's Rust scoring his second of the game from Marleau and Malkin, so 13:29. And then less than 4 minutes later, Rust completes the hat trick. Malkin with the helper at 17 minutes and 10 seconds. And Pittsburgh put up 7 goals against Ottawa. Final score 7-3. And that's all she wrote. Anderson, 28 saves on 35 shots. Murray saves 23 out of 26 in the victory. Relatively easy-ish night for Murray in that they had a huge lead, so he didn't have to really worry about it. Your 3 stars are Rust, Crosby, and Malkin. Power plays, Ottawa 0 for 4, right? And Pittsburgh 1 for 5. Shots 10-8 in favor of the Penguins in the first, 10-9 in favor of Ottawa in the second, 16-8 Pittsburgh in the third. Final shots 35-26 in favor of the Penguins, who may or may not be back. I'm not going to say they're back based on this, but on that board there that I'm looking at, I did move them up based on other results that took place. And yeah, this was a good game for them. It's a home game. This shows that they're a little bit more comfortable. We'll see if they can maintain it, but good result. Boston. This was a tense game. I don't like tense games. I don't like, and it's weird because I didn't get the feeling they sat on the lead. Let's go through it. Rask was tested early. Kasha then had a chance, and the Bruins ended up getting a power play out of it. Andre Kasha, still not on the score sheet as a member of the Bruins, but again, he'll fit in perfectly fine. I would think by the time the playoffs roll around, look out. There's going to be some scoring from Kasha, as long as he can stay healthy. Solid penalty kill by the Bolts on that, but the shots were 6-2 for the Bruins 7 minutes into the game. There was a power play for Tampa. It was unsuccessful, and then in the last minute of the first period, Marchand scores his, I believe, 38th from Krug at 19:05, so 1-0 Boston after 1 in a period that they were ahead on the shots. Second period, very good period for Boston, though Tampa Bay pushed at the 4.5-minute mark, and it looked like maybe they were going to make things interesting. The Bruins challenged a goal for being offside, and they were right. So Tampa Bay scored, and after that, Boston just dominated the shots. There was a power play for the Bruins. Vasilevsky denies McAvoy, and then DeBrusk breaks out of a huge scoring slump he's been in. He scores from Coyle at 10 minutes and 6 seconds, so that made it 2-0 for Boston. There was a power play then for the Bruins. It was unsuccessful. And then Stevens scores late. He scores from Johnson and Gaudreau at 17 minutes and 28 seconds. And Rask didn't have a chance on that one. You couldn't see it. So it's 2-1 after 2. Third period. The Bruins had been the better team throughout the game. But the fact it was only 2-1 made me a little bit nervous. I thought, Tampa Bay is capable of having a very good third period. Cirelli had a breakaway. He was denied. The Tuukka chants were going on. So Tuukka Rask was getting plenty of chants from the crowd there. So I'm guessing a lot of Bruins fans or just Bolts fans jumping in because it's fun to yell Tuukka whenever he makes a save. Crossbar then for Chernak, which the crowd was cheering like it was in and then realized it hit the crossbar. I was like, Johnson missed high. The Tampa Bay Lightning were pushing. But again, posts, missing the net high. They didn't actually get a lot of shots on the net. So Rask in the third period had some big saves, but not a ton of saves. The goaltender gets pulled with 1 minute and 5 seconds left. They had some issues trying to get the goalie out as Boston managed to keep the puck out of their zone and keep possession enough that Vasilevsky didn't get pulled early enough. But Boston does hold on. So Rask saves 20 out of 21 in the victory. Vasilevsky saves 33 out of 35 in the loss. He's the reason this is only a 1-goal loss. Your 3 stars are DeBrusk, Vasilevsky, and Marchand. Power plays, Boston 0 for 3, Tampa Bay 0 for 1. Their power play has been a non-factor for over a month now. Shots 14-9 Boston in the first, 17-5 Boston in the second. And in the third, Tampa had a lot of pressure, but they only had 7 shots to 4 for Boston. Final shots 35-21 in favor of the road team. And again, it really was a lopsided game in favor of Boston, but the score was really close because Vasilevsky is kind of a good goaltender. So we now need to go to the second board. All right, Nashville. Nashville tonight. So, there is a fund that's going on. If you go on to Nashville's Twitter, you can find that they're doing some fundraising for victims of the tornado. I donated tonight myself. So, if you can, and they'll take whatever you're able to donate. I think it's the least that we can do to try to help these people out. And I'm sure it was on the minds of the Preds team as well, all of them with Nashville Strong written on their stick tape. So, I'm not going to be too hard on them about tonight's result, to be completely honest. I could understand if there was some distraction for them, especially in the first period. Cunnin scores from Eriksson Ek at 4 minutes and 7 seconds. So as much as Minnesota, and they had some nice gestures today as well for Nashville, because, the NHL, we are a community and we all support each other. And I thought it was nice of them to talk about donating, and there were donations they were giving out tonight as well. But, they need to win the game. They want to make the playoffs. So there's that. Forsberg lost a puck on a break, and Forsberg was mad at himself over that. Like, he basically, it's one of those things where he may have got ahead of himself. He was already thinking, like, all right, if I go ahead and go to the backhand and go back to the forehand, and then he lost the puck. Fiala would score from Suter at 12 minutes and 4 seconds. So Kevin Fiala continues this amazing run that he's been on. So we go into the second period with a 2-0 lead for Minnesota. Power play for the Wild. It did not score. Yarncroke then had a chance that was broken up. And during that power play, Nashville has too many men on the ice. Now, here's the problem. One guy was trying to come off the ice, and a Minnesota Wild player was kind of mugging him to make sure he couldn't get to the bench. But still, it was 5 guys on the ice. So, yeah, it was a legit call, but I understand why they weren't happy about it either, because you can't just hold a guy like, you can't get to your bench. Power play then for the Predators after they killed that off. The Wild would then get another power play. Ellis, well, he stopped the puck from going in the net during that power play. It was right on the goal line, and he gets it out of there. And then Fabro. Fabro ended up limping his way off of the ice. Nashville doesn't need any injuries on their blue line. They just got it healthy. Then there's a power play for the Predators. Turns into a 5-on-3. There were a lot of power plays in this game. Third period. Early. Minute and 38 seconds in. Parise scores from Stahl and Fiala. So, again, Fiala, goal and an assist again tonight. Ho-hum. The guy's just scoring. I think he's got like 11 points in 5 games. It's 10 or 11 points in 5 games. It's ridiculous. Power play then for the Predators, and they score on it. It's Craig Smith. Gets the power play goal from Forsberg and Yossi at 5 minutes and 7 seconds. Makes it 3-1. But Nashville kept taking penalties. The Wild gets a power play, and they get another. Now, the fact that Nashville kills these off is great, but it also, every time you're taking 2 more minutes off the clock. Turris had a break. He was denied. The Predators took another penalty after that. Then there's a late power play for the Predators. So they go, all right. So they throw the 6th skater on and take the goalie off the ice to go 6-on-4. They're not able to get it, and things get kind of testy in the last minute of the period because these teams don't like each other. They're rivals and whatnot. There's a timeout with 56.6 seconds left. And whatever plan they have, well, it kind of almost worked because during the 6-on-4 that followed, one of the Minnesota players breaks his stick. So it's kind of 6-on-3.5, but Stalock makes a save when he needs to. And for Minnesota, they get the win 3-1 over the Nashville Predators. Stalock, 37 saves on 38 shots for him. He has another great game. Saros played well as well. 30 saves on 33 shots. Fiala, Stalock, and Eriksson Ek are your 3 stars. Shots were 12-6 in the first in favor of Minnesota. 15-10 Nashville in the second. 17-11 Nashville in the third. So here's the interesting thing. Again, Nashville, 38 shots to 33 for Minnesota. For whatever reason, in games where they outshoot their opponents, it feels like they lose those games. And games where they're outshot, it feels like they win them. And I don't know what that is. I don't know why that is or how, but it is something I've noticed during the season, and it definitely seemed like that went on tonight as well. All right, next on the board, Winnipeg wins their 4th at home. So I mentioned this morning in the preview, I know everybody watches the previews, about how Winnipeg this year has been better on the road than at home. But that narrative has started to reverse. They've lost, I think it's 3 in a row on the road, and they've won now 4 in a row at home. So it's kind of reversed itself. They've got themselves into a playoff spot with tonight's results, with the loss by Nashville and the win by Winnipeg. They end up getting into a playoff spot. We'll discuss that at the end of this. Power play for the Sabres. Line deflect one just wide, so Line had a chance, just misses on that. Connor would score from Wheeler at 13 minutes and 59 seconds. So pretty evenly played period up until that. The Sabres get a power play, chance to even it up. Early in the year, when the Sabres were 9-2-2, their power play was fantastic. It hasn't been for a while now. Poolman, shorthanded goal from Connor and Kopp at 16:07. Kyle Connor's a pretty good penalty killer, and his shorthanded points, they're there. And Connor kind of had a fantastic game tonight. He came into tonight with 67 points in 67 games. He got his share of points tonight. Second period, early on, power play for Winnipeg, and it works. Connor scores from Scheifele and Wheeler at 3 minutes and 41 seconds. Yep, that's a 3-0 score. Then there was a too many men on the ice penalty on the Sabres. Hutton stopped Morrissey, and it felt like this game was getting out of control. But a little past halfway through the game, Ristolainen scores from Okposo and Larson at 10:34. Can I mention again, Kyle Okposo's been playing really well lately, and it feels like he's been really prominent in a good way for Buffalo. And if they decide to move what's left of his contract in the offseason, I actually think they'll be takers. I do. I think he's played well enough, I'll say, for the last month and a half. There's got to be a GM somewhere that says, it looks like Okposo's engaged. He may very well be able to resurrect his career. Because, there have been points during this contract where it looked like it was kind of over. There was another power play for the Jets, and this is where things get kind of testy between these teams, so I just throw it on the board. Unfriendliness. Some unfriendliness between these teams. We go into the third period. The Sabres had a push early, but they weren't able to maintain it. Winnipeg played a really good third period. Nice shutdown game. I really have no complaints about how Winnipeg played this. They really have started playing at home the way they were on the road earlier this year. It's not fancy. It's not exciting. That's why there's not a lot of notes up here. But it works. So the goaltender gets pulled with 2 minutes and 20 seconds left. The Sabres call a timeout with 1 minute and 2 seconds left. They just can't generate that opportunity that will defeat Hellebuck. So Hutton saves 32 out of 35 in the 3-1 loss for Buffalo. Hellebuck saves 25 out of 26 in the victory, so it's another win for him to climb that ladder. Connor, Wheeler, and Ristolainen are your 3 stars. Power plays, Buffalo's 0 for 2. Winnipeg 1 for 3. The shots 13-11 in favor of Winnipeg in the first, 14-8 Winnipeg in the second, and 8-7 Winnipeg in the third. So they didn't really sit back and sit on the lead. They did lead in shots through all 3 periods. Final shots 35-26 in favor of Winnipeg. And that's, like I said, that's the way you play a road game on home ice. And fans don't care if it's pretty or not. All they see is the victory. That's all they see. All right, Chicago. So the Blackhawks tonight, they showed that the Ducks have a lot of work left to do. But at the same time, if you're a Ducks fan, there are some silver linings out of this. So Kajula scores from Boquist and Doc at 2 minutes and 7 seconds. And it looks like this could get ugly early. Although, after that goal, the Ducks have a majority of the shots. The shots were 3-2 for the Hawks at 9 minutes. But the shots would reverse. It was 10-5 for the Ducks late in that period, and they would put up a bunch more shots. Just they couldn't defeat Crawford. Crawford had a pretty darn good game. Must have heard what Robin Lehner was going to do, or Lehner saw what Crawford did, and these guys are trying to one-up each other. Second period, Strome scores from Keith and Boquist at 3:46. So Boquist with multiple points in this game, and Keith continues to score. Ever since he got that 600th point, it's like the weight's off of him, and now he's getting the points again. Heinen would score from Juice and Milano at 4:20. There's your silver lining. Danton Heinen scores again. He's been very good offensively since Anaheim got him. I told you guys that you'd like him. Juice and Milano with the assists. They're both new guys as well. So that's your silver lining if you're Anaheim out of this game. I don't know if that's going to help a whole lot because the rest of this game still got played. The Ducks had a 5-on-3, but Crawford denied it. They had their chances, just Crawford said, no, I'm not going to, no. Henrique was denied late in that power play. The Hawks then get a power play. They don't score on it, but late in that period, they decided, all right, we're going to light up the goaltender, and they did. First, it's Strome from Patrick Kane and Carlson at 15:29. Then it's Alex Nylander at 18:07. And then 15 seconds later, Patrick Kane scores from Nylander at Strome at 18:22. And it's 5-1 Chicago after 2 periods. This looks like the old Blackhawks in this game tonight. But again, the Ducks playing out the string as well. Third period, power play for the Hawks. It doesn't score. The power plays really weren't an issue tonight. Rowney would score from Larson and Delorier at 8 minutes and 26 seconds. So Carter Rowney, I like the guy, gets on the board again. The Ducks then get a power play, unsuccessful. And before the game's out, Chicago scores a third. It's Kampf from Highmore at 15:03. And that makes your final score 6-2 for Chicago. Like, it's a game between two teams that are both out of it, but Chicago, to me, is the one that's closer to being in it. Not just points-wise, but just in general, the way their roster's made up. Gibson saved 15 out of 20, or 19 out of 24 before he's replaced. Miller saved 15 out of 16 in replacement. Crawford saved 37 out of 39 shots tonight. Yeah, Crawford had a pretty good game. 3 stars are Strome, Crawford, and Nylander. Power plays 0 for 3 for Anaheim, 0 for 2 for Chicago. The shots were 16-6 for Anaheim in the first. It's got to be frustrating being up 16-6 in the shots and down 1-0 on the scoreboard. Second period, Chicago outshoots them 18-13, so very wide open period. And then 16-10 in the third. Final shots 40-39 in favor of Chicago. Pretty offensive game. And if you're Anaheim or an Anaheim fan, you might think it was an offensive game. So it's the same word, it's just how you say it. It's an offensive game or it's an offensive game. All right. Last game of the night. Oilers. Not last game of the night. Last game on this board. There's 2 more games after this. Don't pay any attention. Oilers went into Detroit tonight, and they did what the Oilers are able to do. This. They're able to win these squeakers, and they've had some tough times over the last, I'll say, 2 months, where they've had those losing streaks, and it's looked like, well, maybe their luck's running out. The back-to-back games, maybe their luck's not running out. I think the smartest move is they didn't bring in Smith again. They brought in Koskinen, and man, does he want that starter's job back. He knows Smith is seen as the starter, and he wants to make it as hard as possible for Edmonton to deny him a lot of starts. Koskinen was tested early and often. Power play for Dallas. The shots were 6-1 Dallas at 8 minutes. The Oilers get a power play. The Stars then got another power play before the end. So I felt like you can't give the Oilers power plays, is how I felt. I thought, if Dallas avoids a march to the box, they're in good shape. But if they don't, then we're in trouble. And then they're in trouble. Second period, it's Nugent-Hopkins on the power play from Nurse and Draisaitl at 7:24. But the shots were nearly 3-1 in favor of the Stars. They were almost tripling the Oilers in shots, and they're behind 1-0. So much like Anaheim over here, it's frustrating to go, all right, we're up in the shots, but we don't have a goal. Power play for the Oilers, it turned into a 5-on-3. They didn't score on that. However, the Stars get a late power play, and it didn't work either, as Koskinen was stealing this. Koskinen made 31 saves for the first 2 periods. He was stealing this. Dallas had a lot of really good opportunities, and he just flat out denied them. He gave them nothing. Third period, Ben took a stick in the mouth, no call. It was bad enough that he was clearly unhappy with it, and he had to go to the bench. I believe it was from Ennis, because he kind of gave Ennis a shoulder in the stink eye as he left the ice, but he didn't do anything else. Probably wanted to, but he didn't do anything else. He wasn't bleeding or anything either, though, so could have been worse. They do get a power play shortly thereafter, and when you see that shortly after, you think, okay, now, did they realize after what had happened, and so they gave out a penalty because they realized, we missed one there? Wonder about that. Klingberg would score from Ben and Radulov at 6:42. So for Ben, I believe that's 5 games in a row he's had an assist. So Klingberg with the power play marker. He looked very happy with himself. And the Stars were happy, and I agree, because I didn't think that we're going to get anything past Koskinen tonight. I thought Koskinen was going to get the shutout. The Stars pressed around the 11-minute mark. They had all the momentum. They were rolling 4 lines. The Oilers looked tired at times tonight. You could tell this was the second game in 2 nights. They looked like they were getting worn down. And even McDavid and Draisaitl, they were pretty quiet tonight by their standard. But it doesn't matter. Really doesn't matter. Late Stars power play, it doesn't succeed. We go into overtime, and then a boneheaded penalty gives the Oilers a power play. It's a legit penalty, and the Oilers get a power play. And as soon as I saw that and a timeout, I actually put the Oilers logo up there for a goal. As soon as I saw it was a power play, because I was like, they're not killing that off. And then it's chase on the power play from Nugent Hopkins and McDavid at 1 minute and 8 seconds. And that's it. The Oilers go in and they secure a victory over Dallas. They only get 1 point in the loss, so they lose a point further behind St. Louis. They're not going to catch first. They're not going to catch second either. So right now for Dallas, they have to make sure they secure third, because there's still that danger that they could end up falling back a little bit. There's still... I don't think so. I think Dallas is pretty much... I'll say 90. I'm 95% sure Dallas finishes third. So they get the point tonight, but still. Koskinen, 42 saves on 43 shots. He was the story tonight. Hudobin, 25 saves on 27 shots. He played very well as well. Koskinen, Chason, and Klingberg are your 3 stars. 2 for 5 was the Oilers' power play. You can't give them a chance. 1 for 6 was Dallas's power play. Shot 16-6 in the first in favor of Dallas. 15-10 Dallas in the second. 12-8 Dallas in the third. And then in overtime, Edmonton got all 3 shots, including the one that matters. Final shots 43-27 in favor of Dallas. But on the scoreboard, they take the loss. So we'll go to the third board. So, New Jersey. I feel bad for New Jersey. This has been a long road trip. And now you go into Vegas. Yeah, good luck. Vegas coming off of a loss. So you know they're going to be ornery to start with. And they were. Yep. Leonard and Blackwood both looked really sharp early on in this. Stevenson hits a post. Chandler Stevenson had a very good game. Doesn't get into the 3 stars because he didn't actually get on the board, but he was very prominent. Blackwood denied Stastny. That was a play that brought the fans out of their seats. Vegas then gets a power play. They don't score on it, and that's their only power play in the game. So we go into the second period. It's scoreless. And for New Jersey, you got to be going, you know what? That's pretty good. All right. So as long as we have a good start to the second period, what do you mean they scored already? Pacioretty scores from Karlsson at 45 seconds. The Devils get a power play. Leonard denied Hischier in front of the net. Blackwood then stopped Martinez, and the Devils get another power play. There were threats on that power play, but Robin Leonard played very, very well. Third period. All right, we're down by 1. All we have to do is make sure that we come out of this period and we've got to at least get, what do you mean they scored already? Karlsson scores the 100th goal of his NHL career from Roy and Pacioretty at 37 seconds. 2 goals in the first minute, second period, and then third period. And there you go. And then just the asterisk, the final nail in the coffin, whatever you want to call it. Reeves scores his 8th of the season. His career high is 9, so he's got a good chance of breaking that. Carrier and Nosek with the assists at 8 minutes and 49 seconds. And yeah, the Devils, it just looked like they were overmatched. And in that third period, it really looked like that. They would get a power play, their third of the game. That was their last one of the game, and it didn't succeed. And so Leonard gets the 15th shutout of his career. 27 saves there for him. I knew Leonard was a good goaltender. Leonard moves around a lot, and what we're hearing out of Chicago is the same thing we heard out of Buffalo, and there were rumblings out of Ottawa and rumblings out of the Islanders. He may not be easy-ish to deal with. But you know what? He's not the first goaltender that might be tough to deal with. I can remember Barrasso. I remember Belfour as being 2 good examples of goaltenders that had great careers, and they may have been difficult to deal with for people. So, that's pretty good. Hextall as well. Blackwood, 29 saves on 32 shots in the loss. You certainly are not going to put this on Blackwood. 3 stars, Leonard, Karlsson, and Pacioretty are your 3 stars. Power plays, Devils 0 for 3, Vegas 0 for 1. The shots were 11-9 Vegas in the first, 11-9 New Jersey in the second, 12-7 Vegas in the third. Final shots 32-27 in favor of the Vegas Golden Knights. And I have to admit, during the game tonight, anytime they showed the strip, whether it was an overhead or they just showed the camera view of looking down the strip, I kind of got giddy and giggled about it. Because 12 days from now, we're going to be in Vegas. And so seeing the strip and just seeing that and just, realizing in 2 weeks we're going to be there, I kind of got like excited just seeing it. Just going, yeah. Because they always show like the whole, we're staying in the Vidara, and they always kind of show that area. It's right behind the Cosmos. So they're like, all right, so here's the Cosmopolitan. No, we're going to be right behind there. Because we've got a view of the Bellagio fountain. So it's, yeah. I'm kind of getting excited about it. I've kind of put it out of my mind because I have this to do every night, so I can't be thinking about it. But it's started to creep in there. All right, the last game of the night, Toronto in against San Jose. I'm going to say this also. I do feel bad for Toronto, and yet when I hear Toronto announcers saying, "Well, it's tough to get used to the time change going 3 hours." Yeah. West Coast teams go through that too. Yeah. That's kind of how that works. For West Coast teams, the games are 3 hours earlier, so I can imagine it's tough for them too. I know 3 hours later is brutal, but yeah, that's kind of how it works going from coast to coast. And I don't think that's necessarily what happened to Toronto. I just think San Jose with Couture back and just being comfortable, I think they're a better team. And maybe there's a conversation to be had about San Jose's blue line and whether or not they're better without Erik Karlsson in there. And at some point in time, I'm thinking in the offseason, I should take a look at some numbers as to how their record was with Karlsson, without Karlsson, and how the numbers are different with Erik in the lineup and with him out, because there may be a conversation to be had there. It's something we've discussed this year about whether or not Erik Karlsson, again, if that was where Doug Wilson went wrong before the season started. So, Sharks get a power play in this game, and they score on it. It's Evander Kane from Burns and Couture at 6 minutes and 38 seconds. And Evander Kane had a pretty good game tonight. The shots were 8-8 in the first half, but notably, Martin Jones, another good game. Yep, Martin Jones is kind of back to being Martin Jones. And again, maybe it's because the pressure's off for San Jose. There's something to be said for a team doing well when they're playing out the string and they know they're not going to make the playoffs, being more relaxed, and a team coming in that feels the pressure. There's something to be said for the team that feels the pressure not playing particularly well. Second period, early, that doesn't seem to be a problem. Matthews scores from Marincin at 2:48. So Marinchin's on, what, a 3-game point streak? Sign that man to a major extension. What, they did already? Good call. Suomela then scores from Nason and Karlsson at 3 minutes and 54 seconds. And this is where I've got like a minor gripe. That the TSN crew kept calling him Nosen. And I'm like, wait. You can hear the guy in San Jose. You can hear the announcer over the PA system calling him Nason. Like, I made the mistake of calling him Nosen and Newson as well when the channel first started up. I got corrected a ton. So, Nason. Nason, and people still correct me on names, and that's fine. That's part of this. But, yeah, it drove me nuts because he did it all night, Nosen. And I thought, can't you hear? Especially later, I'm like, okay, now did you not hear it? Melker just missed wide as they went for another one. So, Karlsson gets an assist there. Melker had a pretty good game. I thought Melker Karlsson did. He had a pretty good game. Campbell then robbed Evander Kane, but the shots were 10-1 for the Sharks at 6 minutes. So the only shot Toronto had to that point had gone in. It was Matthews with another goal to get closer to Pastrnak, who was held off the score sheet tonight. Power play for the Sharks, and then Hyman had a chance shorthanded. It was denied. I believe Hyman had two shorthanded chances during that. But the Leafs had mostly been bad during that period, with the exception of Jack Campbell. Campbell was absolutely lights out in that second period. There were no 5-on-5 shots for the Leafs over a 14-minute period of time during this game. 14 minutes without a shot 5-on-5. They had a shot shorthanded, and they had the goal at 2:48, but they went forever in between shots. And then you get a late power play for the Leafs. Jones denied Matthews, but after that expired, Marner with an absolute beauty. I can't try to recreate it. I guess I could try to get like stuffed animals and try to recreate. I can't. When the channel was first starting out, there was one. Okay, that's a tangent. Matthews and Rosen with the assists at 17 minutes and 27 seconds. So Toronto ties the game going into the third. And honestly, did they deserve to be tied? No. They only managed 6 shots in that second period, and they were outplayed badly, and yet they had outscored San Jose 2-1. So the conversation you're having going into the third is Jones going to allow another goal? Are we looking at a game where Jones' stats are going to take a hit? And the answer is no. Early in the third, it's Nason scoring from Suomela at 5:48, and then 50 seconds later, after Toronto had almost tied it again, Kane goes the other way, gets a pass from Vlasic, and at 6:38, he makes it 4-2. Crowd goes crazy, and you could just feel it. Because the Leafs were off to a pretty good start in that period. They were playing pretty well in that third period. Just 2 goals went in their net. And that's how tonight went for Toronto. Jones denied Gauthier, and then we get a power play for the Leafs. It was unsuccessful. They pull the goalie with 3 minutes and 10 seconds left because you're behind by a couple, so you've got to pull the goalie earlier. And then Šimek gets the empty netter. That's the first goal he's had in 31 games. It was in November, the last time he got a goal. 19 minutes and 3 seconds the time of the empty netter. And your final score is 5-2 for San Jose. So tomorrow, from the Toronto media, get ready as they complain that this team isn't good enough. They're not going to do anything. They're not a very good team. What happened? Why were they ready in the second period? Yada, 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 yada. It's coming. Campbell saved 33 out of 37. He played very well. Jones played well in the third period as well. 25 saves on 27 shots. Kane, Matthews, and Suomela are your 3 stars. Power plays, 0 for 3 for Toronto, 1 for 2 for San Jose. Shots were 14-11 Toronto in the first, 18-6 San Jose in the second, and 9-7 San Jose in the third. Final shots 38-27 in favor of San Jose. The only thing that I would add to this, just from the outside looking in at Toronto, obviously, is that it feels like they're tuning out the coach again. It feels like Toronto's tuning out the coach again. They did it with Babcock, and it feels like they're doing it with Sheldon Keefe, and I hope they're not. I hope it's just a perception and it's not reality, because they can't afford to shut this coach out, because he's not going anywhere. He is Kyle Dubas's coach. So if this team struggles, and if there's a perception that some guys aren't listening to the coach when the season's done, it may force Kyle Dubas to make some changes. And it may involve maybe even a core piece going just to send that message. So coming out of tonight, Boston now has a 9-point lead on Tampa for the lead in the Atlantic. Toronto is 9 points back of the Lightning, which means they're 18 points behind Boston. They're not going to play Boston in the first round. That's the good news. Washington, Philly, Pittsburgh, nothing really changes there, although Pittsburgh's now 1 point behind Philadelphia. So they have 82 points. They're 4 points behind the Capitals. All of them have played the same amount of games. The Islanders, with that loss tonight, that hurts. They're still at 78 points. So Columbus, happy to see that happen. They're still at 78 points. The Canes, also happy to see that happen. They were idle tonight, 75 points for them. They're 3 points out. And the Rangers have lost their games in hand. The Rangers now sit with 66 games played, so they've played one more than the Islanders, one less than Columbus, and they're 4 points behind Columbus. So right now, they are not in control of their own destiny. Not right now, but there's still a lot of time left. The Panthers, 73 points. Interestingly, they're still 5 points behind both Toronto and Columbus for a playoff spot. Out west, St. Louis, 90 points now. They are 6 points behind Boston for the President's Trophy. St. Louis doesn't want that, do they? The Colorado Avalanche now 3 points back, and Dallas 8 points back of St. Louis, and they're 5 points back of Colorado, while Colorado has a game in hand on St. Louis. Vegas, 82 points now. They stay 2 points clear of Edmonton, who have 80. They are 5 points clear of Calgary. They are 6 points clear of Vancouver. And it really looks like Edmonton is going to be in that 2-horse race with Vegas. And I don't know that anybody else can catch them. The Jets, 74 points. They're in a playoff spot. They've played 3 more games than the Canucks. What's interesting is Minnesota, with that result tonight, they are now 1 point back. They have 2 games in hand on the Jets. The Canucks have 1 game in hand on Minnesota. But, again, you've got to win that game in hand. Nashville, they've played 66 games. They've got 72 points. So this loss, combined with last night's loss, really hurts Nashville. And Arizona, 67 games played, 72 points. They slide. They have to pass 3 teams now to make the playoffs, but they're still 2 points out. So it's an interesting picture. And here's Chicago, because Chicago fans are going to want me to mention it. They are still 6 points out, and they have 2 games in hand on the Winnipeg Jets. So they're not out of it. Despite Chicago having their struggles, there's enough teams struggling in the West. Chicago's not out of it. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below regarding tonight's games. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing right through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for all your support. It means a lot. As we get into March, we get closer to the playoffs. And it looks like Boston may very well end up being the #1 team in the East with the 10-point lead on the Caps, 9 points on the Lightning. And St. Louis, they got a decent enough chance of being first in the West, although Colorado can catch them, only being 3 points back. So we'll see what happens. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.